The United States, having abrogated unto itself the role of the world's policeman, continues to flaunt international law, ignore procedural standards, diplomatic conventions, and multilateral agreements, and literally kidnap citizens of other countries in third states at will. Once again, as in the case of Viktor Bout, Konstantin Yaroshenko, and possibly hundreds of other lesser-known individuals, the U.S. has kidnapped a person based on the weakest of circumstantial evidence that only a secret grand jury would rule as legitimate. The internal dysfunctional U.S. justice system, which completely ignores the rights of those targeted and assumes guilt before innocence, is now being unilaterally spread worldwide by a power delusional in its belief in its own exceptionalism. Roman-Seleznyov was literally kidnapped by the U.S. from the Maldives on an internal grand jury finding that even a judge in the Maldives did not feel was credible enough to grant the issuing of an arrest warrant. Radio VR spoke to a witness to the kidnapping to get a clearer picture of what actually happened.
VR exclusive.
Hello, this is John Robles. I'm speaking with a source at Mali Airport in the Maldives who witnessed the detention of Roman-Seleznyov. Hello, sir. Thanks for agreeing to speak with me in the middle of the night. I really appreciate it. Now, you witnessed the detention of Mr. Seleznev. Can you tell us about what you saw?
What I saw was, while we were at the departure hall, there was one of my friends who was accompanying three of them. It's a family. One is a man, and there was a little daughter, and there was a woman. But clearly there were two white guys who had a conversation, and the other guy, he didn't resist anything. I was a bit far away, but I saw he being cuffed by two Americans. Later on we found out. And I thought it was normal Interpol thing which we often see in Male Airport anyway. So we didn't bother to check who he was. We didn't bother to go near him. But later, after 3 days, we realized it was not a normal arrest. It was the Americans and it was the Secret Service. I found this out from the news, that it was not Interpol anyway. And clearly, it was not local police who talked to him. It was the two white guys. I can remember one very clearly. One was wearing a green T-shirt and a jeans sort of pants anyway. He cuffed him. And when we start watching the guy who was being cuffed, he was very cool actually. He was very cool, very calm. What he did was he put his jacket or shirt on his wrist so that we don't see that he's been cuffed. He was cuffed from the departure hall, and then he was walked by these two guys, two American guys. There were some local police behind him, but they were not engaging with anything. They were just behind him. And he was walked to the CIP lounge, which is commercially important people lounge, which is normally called VIP lounge. And he was taken there in front of everybody. There are other witnesses as well. It wasn't very secretive or anything. It was taken just in front of us. So we saw. And the lady and the daughter went through normal departure hall.
VR exclusive.
Why was he taken to the lounge, and did the wife and the daughter, did they protest or anything, or they went and got on the plane?
They were talking. They were engaged in some conversation, but I didn't hear it. But later I asked the guy who was the representative of Kanifushi, which is the resort he was based in. He told me that the two guys came and said, you will be coming with us or something like that. And there was no paper or anything produced at the time of his arrest.
So they didn't produce any papers, a warrant or nothing?
Nothing. Just cuffed him. That's what we saw, just cuffed him. And why he was taken to the VIP lounge was, the procedure is if they are leaving by private jets, anybody can go through that lounge. It's a private lounge, so nobody could actually see what's going on. They will be going through there. Immigration, everything will be going through that.
I see.
And I later talked to the guys who were handling the flight. The guy told me he was calm, but the two guys literally threw him to the flight.
They threw him onto the airplane?
Yeah. They were very nice on the outside, but at the time of boarding, they just literally pushed him into the plane.
Or they physically threw him, or pushed him into the plane.
That's exactly exact words.
So what you're telling me is when people could see them, they were being polite and normal, but when they thought no one was watching, they were very violent?
I can't say violent or anything, but I heard from the guys who handled it was not nice. He said he was pushed.
He was pushed into the plane, I see.
Yeah.
Now, his wife, Anna's her name, she gave a press conference, and she said she heard these guys while they were in the lounge. She was not there with him, she said. And she heard them screaming at him, and he kept saying, no, no, no.
I was a bit far away, but there was definitely a heated conversation went on, definitely. I mean, he physically didn't resist, but he was saying something. I could see that. Like I said, we didn't go near there. We didn't bother to check that because it's a normal sight that people are being carried away in front of us, these arrests.
Mm-hmm. But that's normally Interpol, or it's Americans do that there?
That's 100% American. That's not, I will confirmed only 3 days later. Mm-hmm. I even tweeted about it the day it happened. What took place in the morning. Mm-hmm. But I wanted to disregard it because I thought it was just a normal case.
I'm sorry, what I was asking you, is it normal for Interpol to arrest people there, or is it normal for Americans to arrest people there?
For Interpol.
And Interpol, it's usually Europeans, or who is it?
Because we work in the airport, for us, an arrest is just a normal thing. Sometimes people refuse, sometimes people are drunk and they had to be arrested, so what? But this case, definitely it was not locals, it was the Americans. I mean, 2 white guys. Mm-hmm. It was not locals.
Okay, because the news reports out of the Maldives authorities said that it was locals.
That's not locals. That's not true. If you go through my Twitter timeline on that day, you can see exactly.
Yeah, okay. Everyone who's been there has said the same thing. Now, again, I was going to ask you, Interpol, do they normally use local police?
Well, there are some cases that I know of which happened 2011. Even back then, the president, he was involved in a case, but he didn't want to hand over just like that without any warrant or without any court case. He didn't want to hand over. But this time it is different. This time they just came, cuffed, took him.
VR exclusive.
Just a reminder, you're listening to an interview with a witness to the kidnapping of Roman-Seleznyov. As far as I know, in the Maldives, the law is that if someone's going to be extradited, they have to go to a court, right? Then they have to have a finding. Then they have to have an extradition order, right?
Yeah. Through the news, I read that they tried for a court order, but the judge refused.
For Mr. Seleznev, the judge refused an order?
The judge refused to give an arrest warrant to police.
What did you hear? What was the reason?
There was no reason. I have the article which is in local. They changed some parts yesterday, but I have a copy which I have saved locally, on which it said he was arrested on the advice given by the Attorney General that when they put the exit stamp on his passport, they can arrest him. Even though he is in the Maldives, if his passport is stamped exit, they could arrest him.
Did they stamp his passport?
I don't think they did from the departure hall when we were there. They could have done that in the lounge.
Oh, I see. They could have done it later or whatever.
They could have done that. They could have done that. But everybody knows that it's a stupid reason for an arrest.
All right, so wait, this is also very important. You just mentioned that they changed the story.
They changed the story and they have a local version on their site. I have the original where it said they arrested him on an advice by Attorney General. If they put this exit stamp on his passport, they could arrest him.
And in the new story, that is not there.
That part has been cut out. Nobody gave an explanation why.
I see. Very interesting. Yeah. Do you know anything about this airline?
The company that handled the aircraft, I think, was Sky Tours from here, locally.
Sky Tours.
Normally, they are the handling agents for jets.
Now, did you see this aircraft? And again, the company is called VistaJet. VistaJet was the airline.
VistaJet could be the parent company, but The local handling party was not Vista or anything. It was Sky Tours.
Sky Tours, right. Did you see any other Americans? You only saw two, or did you see any people with like a bulletproof vest? Or
No, nothing. They were in normal casual clothes because Maldives is a very peaceful place, and I don't think anybody would need bulletproof vests and all sort of weapons or anything at the airport. Yeah, it's relatively very, very calm.
What else have you heard that would be interesting maybe for our listeners?
The interesting part will be the part that I told you about that this arrest was done on an advice by Attorney General and because the judge refused to issue a warrant. And now the American counterpart is saying that Maldives arrested it. And for the past 2 or 3 days, we didn't see from official U.S. statements, Interpol was not mentioned. It was clearly mentioned Secret Service. But all of a sudden, day before yesterday, we saw it was on Interpol's notice.
What do you mean it was on Interpol's notice?
They said he was on Interpol's watch list, but none of the official statements from the U.S., we didn't see any Interpol mentioned. It was clearly said Secret Service.
VR exclusive.
So there was no Interpol. It was the U.S. Secret Service. Originally, there was advice from the Attorney General. That was taken out of the news, right?
Yeah.
And originally, there was stories that the judge refused to issue a warrant to whom? To the Americans or to the police?
To the police, I think. I'm not very 100% sure. But anyway, if there was any operation, it would be police. But the judge refused.
All right, so let me get this straight. The Americans wanted to arrest Mr. Seleznev. They asked a judge there for a warrant, or the police asked the judge for the warrant. The judge refused to issue the warrant against Mr. Seleznev. Then, on the advice of the Attorney General, the Americans kidnapped Mr. Seleznev. As long as he had an exit stamp in his passport, it was okay to do that.
Yeah, that's we learned from the news.
Okay.
But that part has been cut out.
But that part has now been cut out. Okay. Is there anything else you can tell us?
That's basically it, because it didn't take much time. It would take about maximum of 5 minutes from the departure hall to the VIP lounge.
Were his wife and his daughter, were they detained or harassed or pushed around in any way? Or?
No. Nothing of that sort. They immediately separated his wife, his family, and they walked him away. After cuffing him,
So he didn't even have a chance to say bye to his wife or talk to her?
After they cuffed him, we got out. We come out of the departure hall. Like I said, it's normal for us. Then again, we saw him being walked in front of us through the arrival hall.
Is it normal for people to go into this CIP lounge?
It's normal.
No, but is it normal when they arrest people to take them through the...
No, it's not normal. It's not normal. Normally, they are taken... This doesn't happen, before our eyes. They will be taken out from some other entrance or something like that.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
So that was very unusual that he was taken through the VIP lounge.
Yeah, we were talking about it because there were so many people on the arrival. They saw he was cuffed and he was being walked from the departure hall through the arrival to the VIP lounge. He was walked. When we started watching him, he put his jacket or coat on his wrist.
He did that himself? Or?
Yeah, he did that himself.
What do you mean by he was walked? You mean he was forced?
He was obviously cuffed. The other two are on both sides.
Did they have guns, do you think? Or?
No, not visibly. We didn't see.
Not visibly. Is it possible they were pointing a gun at him?
No.
Okay, so you don't think they were pointing a gun at him? Okay, I really appreciate it. Is there anything else you wanted to tell us? Or
that's actually it, because this is what we saw.
All right, take care.
Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
VR exclusive.
This is John Robles. You were listening to an interview with an anonymous source who witnessed the arrest of Roman-Seleznyov in the Maldives. The speaker's name has been kept anonymous for his own safety. Thank you very much for listening, and as always, I wish you the best wherever in the world you may be.